Hey, what's going on? I hope that you're doing good. Today we're going to talk about two different things. We're going to talk about mono group on the Nord drum, and we're going to talk about pitch. And specifically, we're going to talk about bend time. There's a setting on here for pitch bend, and I didn't realize that it existed. I sort of stumbled across it, and I wanted to share it. So let's start with trying to make like a kick drum. So we'll select this first pad here. And I like doing square wave kicks. Let's go down to 30. And let's open up the decay just for the time being, and then we can always go back. I'm gonna go to P for punchy. Okay, so typically if I was gonna make a kick drum, I would go to my bend time, and then I would move this number up here, and then immediately you'll start hearing that sort of kick sound. This is the amount of pitch bend, and this is going to be the time. So if I hold this down here, and you can take it all the way up, and you could get like this here, like. So that's fine, right? Maybe we'll dial something in that's more typical. And then we'll bring this back a little bit. Let's get a snare in here just so that we have, we'll go to drum select. To me it sounds sort of like an 808, like a TR 808 snare. Maybe just a little bit, I don't know, it's just me. And let's take that up to like, give it a little bit of aggression with some drive. Okay, here's a setting that I didn't realize existed. Typically, whenever I go to use the pitch bend, I'm only using it whenever I'm making kicks. I did not realize that this also goes in the inverse, that you can take this and go in the opposite direction. I didn't know that. And I think that the reason why I haven't come across that was because typically percussive sounds, I don't believe in like the natural world, do things sort of go from like a low pitch to like a higher pitch. Normally when you hit things, the transient is sort of like high pitch and then it goes like that. At least that's how I understand it, but I'm not a sound scientist, so I don't know all of that kind of stuff. Maybe there's some sort of instrument that does that. But anyways, why I think that this is important is because this is a percussion synthesizer. It's not a drum emulator, right? So you can also make electronic sounds and non-natural sounds, if that makes sense. So I thought that maybe I would explore trying to make some patches with this inverse pitch bend. So let's take this kick drum sound and let's take it into the inverse, or the negative to the positive. So we'll copy this pad and then we're going to put that here. Paste. And we're going to take our pitch bend time, and at 0 we'll go down, right? Now, to me it sort of sounds like a rubber band, and so I'm not exactly sure where to use this, and maybe that's why I haven't come across this yet. Wow, that's quite down there. Let's see. Maybe give this a little bit of drive. Throw some delay on here with a higher feedback, maybe. I kind of wish that the delay was before the distortion, which would be kind of cool to run that delay sound into the distortion, but that's something that you could do in Ableton. Here's something else that I figured out about the pitch bend that I did not realize, is that this pitch bend time is dynamic depending on how hard you hit it. I'm sorry, not the pitch bend time, the pitch bend amount. I didn't know that. So let me show you an example. I'll get, let's get a sawtooth going. Same thing, we'll open up the decay. That's a lot, maybe a little less. And let's give it some pitch bend like this, and we'll also extend the time out. Found it, geez. I didn't realize this either. And whenever you open up or extend the time on the pitch bend, if you hit it different with a different velocity, you're gonna get a different pitch. It's gonna sort of like pick a different spot. Listen to this. That's sort of a hard thing for me to wrap my brain around, because normally I'm thinking of hitting a drum and then that is the sort of static sound, and maybe you just have like loud and then quiet, and I have a hard time sort of mapping pitch to velocity in my head. But I do think that there's some really cool areas for exploration or some randomness. Maybe if you set it at like a lighter setting. Get a hi-hat going real quick. So we'll go to bandpass 1, and let's turn the down, and we'll turn the noise up. Let's find the Cool. That brings me on to the second thing that I wanted to focus on, which is the mono group. I think the mono group is such a cool tool to use on the Nord drum because it allows you to do things that don't sound natural, and I think that that's where this device shines, is being an electronic device. I'll show you an example of what I'm talking about. I'm going to put this sound, and I'm going to open up the decay on this, and I'll put this on a mono group as well. So basically, whenever I hit this pad and then I hit this pad, it's going to cancel this one out, like a choke group, if you're familiar with that term. And what I found is that if you have these sort of like separate sounds that don't seem like they go together, it's not cohesive if you're trying to play together and it sounds like it's all clashing, throwing these things on a mono group seems to sort of gel them in a certain way, and it sounds kind of cool and more electronic. So let me show you what I'm talking about. Let's open up the decay here. Oh geez, that's not the right thing. Punchy. Give this a little distortion too. And all right, and let's add that to the mono group. And we'll add that to a mono group, and then we get this, right? And let's add this as well. Oh geez. Oh, you know what? We're gonna have an issue with this delay, so I'm gonna turn this off. Okay. Now I kind of, with what I'm building here, I think that I'm okay with like going a little bit further and slower. I think I found it. So this is a really cool tool to use, using the inverse on top of two patches, where this will lead into the other sound. So for the kick drum, right? It almost sounds like if you were working in the DAW and you were to take your kick drum sample, reverse it, and put it right before it so it leads up into it. Now you can sort of perform that live, which is really cool. Now I'm kind of curious to see if I can do the same thing with this. So we're going to copy that pad and paste it here over our snare drum. And let's go, I guess, R5. It sounds like a boat, like you're on a boat and you're about to get sick. Let's do an FM sound, because I've been going on and on about FM. Ew. Let's make it punchy. I'm sorry if this is like painful for you. Oh, I'm sorry. And let's turn that down. something. Let's see if I can do the thing with the pitch on this. All the way up. I think that it's a cool discovery because now you get a little bit more control, because there are some limitations, right? You have a couple of envelopes that are built into this thing if you're thinking like synthesizer wise. However, there's, you can't route it. There's no modulation, there's no LFO. So finding something like this where you can inverse the pitch bend, I think is really, really cool. And then also discovering, which I did not know, that the pitch bend the pitch bend amount is dynamic, which I think is really, really cool, especially if you're using it in a very sort of moderate way. But anyways, I just dropped a 3-song EP. It's called Movement. And if you get a chance to listen to it, I'd be grateful for it. I'm gonna put a link in the description below. So, click on it and listen to it and tell me if you like it or not. And I'll talk to you later. Bye.